Every day, millions of people open a book, press play on a video, or put on their headphones with one goal in mind: to master English. They dedicate hours. They repeat new words. They study grammar rules. They train their ears to recognize different accents. And slowly, something beautiful happens. They begin to understand. Movies start to make sense. Conversations are no longer noise. Sentences connect. Ideas become clear. For a moment, they feel proud. They feel progress. They feel capable. But then comes the real test. Someone looks at them and says, "So, what do you think?" And suddenly, everything changes. The mind that was clear becomes crowded. The confidence that was growing begins to shake. Simple words feel heavy. Easy sentences feel impossible. The voice hesitates. The heart beats faster. Silence takes control. How is it possible to understand so much and still struggle to say a single sentence? How can someone follow an entire conversation but freeze when it is their turn to speak? This is not a question of intelligence. It is not a lack of vocabulary. It is not a sign of failure. It is something deeper. In this video, we are going to uncover 8 powerful and often invisible reasons why understanding English feels natural, but speaking it feels terrifying. And once you see these reasons clearly, you will realize something important. You are not behind. You are not capable. You are simply one step away from unlocking your voice. Stay with me, because today, that silence begins to break.
Let's talk about the first reason: lack of self-confidence. Many learners understand English perfectly. They know the vocabulary. They can follow conversations. They can even understand movies without subtitles. But the moment they try to speak, something changes. Their mind starts to doubt itself. What if I say it wrong? Will they understand me? Will they laugh at me? That fear stops them. Even a simple sentence feels heavy. Even a word they know seems impossible to pronounce. This lack of self-confidence is like an invisible wall. It blocks the mouth. It freezes the mind. It turns fluency into silence. And the more they hesitate, the louder the fear becomes. Here's the truth. You don't need to be perfect. Making mistakes is part of learning. Even native speakers make mistakes. The key is to trust yourself enough to speak anyway. Start small. Speak a sentence out loud every day. Even if it's just one simple sentence, each time you speak, your confidence grows.
We're going to talk about the second reason. Sometimes you know the words. You know the grammar. You understand English perfectly when you listen. But the moment you try to speak, everything changes. Your mind starts analyzing every word before it leaves your mouth. You ask yourself, is this sentence correct? Am I pronouncing it properly? Will they understand me? You pause. You hesitate. You overthink every detail. Simple sentences suddenly feel complicated. Words you have used many times before feel heavy. Your thoughts start racing, and your confidence slowly fades. You imagine what others might think. You imagine making mistakes. You imagine being judged. Each pause grows longer. Each hesitation makes speaking harder. By the time you try to speak, the conversation has already moved on. Overthinking stops your fluency. It turns confidence into silence. It makes speaking feel impossible. Focus on expressing ideas, not perfection. Speak first. Correct later.
Reason 3. Passive learning. As I already previously mentioned,
Very often, learners spend hours listening to podcasts. They watch movies. They read books. They absorb vocabulary and grammar rules without ever speaking a word. On the surface, it feels productive. They understand almost everything they hear. They can follow conversations. They can even enjoy movies without subtitles. But here's the problem. Understanding alone is not enough. Language is not just in your head. It lives in your mouth. It lives in your voice. It lives in the moment when you try to express yourself. If you only listen, if you only read, your brain knows the words, but your mouth does not. Your tongue has not learned the rhythm. Your lips have not learned the shapes. Sentences feel heavy. Fluency feels distant. You might understand jokes, idioms, and expressions, but the moment you try to say them yourself, it feels unfamiliar, awkward, hard. Active practice is the bridge. Even small conversations every day can train your mouth, your mind, and your ears together. Slowly, the voice you've been hearing in your head begins to match the voice that comes out of your mouth. Speak daily, even if it's only a sentence. Step by step, your fluency grows naturally. Guys, as I already talked to you about 3 previous main reasons that prevent the learners from speaking, now let's see the 4th reason: fear of making mistakes. Many learners hesitate to speak because they are afraid of being wrong. They imagine every possible mistake before it even happens. They picture themselves mispronouncing words. They worry about grammar errors. They imagine the reaction of others. Will they correct me? Will they laugh? Will they think I'm not smart? This fear grows silently. It makes learners pause mid-sentence. It stops them from trying new words. It stops them from experimenting with the language. Even simple sentences suddenly feel like traps. They overthink every choice. And the more they try to avoid mistakes, the less they speak. Confidence shrinks with each hesitation. The more silence takes over, the louder self-doubt becomes. Mistakes are seen as enemies instead of teachers. The voice inside your head whispers, "Don't speak, not yet. Wait until it's perfect." But perfection never comes instantly. Fluency grows through trial and error. You must allow yourself to make mistakes, learn from them, and keep speaking. Embrace mistakes. Every error is a step forward. Speaking imperfectly is better than staying silent. Reason 5: lack of real conversation practice. Some learners study English for years, yet they rarely place themselves inside real conversations. Most of their learning happens in quiet spaces: a phone screen, a notebook, a recorded lesson. These tools are useful, but they cannot replace a real exchange between people. A real conversation moves quickly. There is no pause button, no rewind. Someone speaks, and a response is expected. Your mind must listen, process the message, and answer in the same moment. Without this kind of experience, speaking can feel unfamiliar, almost like stepping onto a stage without rehearsal. Your ideas may exist clearly in your mind, but turning those ideas into real-time speech suddenly becomes difficult. Conversation has its own rhythm: questions, reactions, unexpected turns. And the only way to learn that rhythm is to live inside it. The more real conversations you experience, the more natural speaking becomes. Seek small opportunities to interact in English. A short conversation each day can slowly transform your speaking ability. Reason 6: social anxiety. For some learners, the difficulty is not the language itself. It is the presence of other people. The moment others are listening, pressure begins to grow. Their heart beats faster. Their thoughts become scattered. They start wondering, what will they think of my accent? Will they notice my mistakes? Will I sound strange? Suddenly, the conversation feels like a test. Every word feels heavier. Every pause feels longer. Even when the sentence is simple, nervousness interrupts the flow. The mind becomes distracted by the fear of judgment. Attention moves away from communication and toward self-awareness. Instead of focusing on the message, the learner focuses on how they sound. This tension creates hesitation, and hesitation slowly turns into silence. But speaking a language is not a performance. It is simply a way to connect with people. The more relaxed you become around others, the easier your words will come out. Start speaking English in comfortable environments. With supportive people, confidence grows naturally. Reason 7. Staying in the comfort zone. Understanding English can feel safe. You listen, you follow the meaning, you recognize the words. There is no pressure, no risk. You simply observe the language. But speaking is different. Speaking requires action. It requires courage. The moment you open your mouth, you expose your level. Some learners avoid that moment, not because they are incapable, but because they want to feel comfortable. Listening feels easy. Reading feels controlled. Speaking, however, feels uncertain. You do not know exactly how the sentence will come out. You do not know how the other person will react. So the mind chooses safety. It stays with activities that feel familiar. But growth rarely happens inside comfort zones. Progress appears when you step slightly beyond them. Each time you speak, even when it feels uncomfortable, you expand your ability. And little by little, what once felt difficult starts to feel natural. Challenge yourself to speak, even when it feels uncomfortable. That small discomfort is often the doorway to real progress. Reason 8. Weak pronunciation training. Some learners know many English words. They recognize them instantly when they hear them. They understand them clearly when they read them. But the moment they try to say those same words aloud, everything feels different. The mouth is not used to producing those sounds. English has its own rhythm, its own music. Certain sounds may not even exist in your native language. Without practicing these sounds, speaking begins to feel uncomfortable. The tongue hesitates. The lips search for the right shape. Even familiar words suddenly feel difficult to pronounce. This creates doubt. You begin to wonder, am I saying it correctly? And that small moment of hesitation breaks the natural flow of speech. But pronunciation is not only about accuracy, it is also about confidence. When your mouth becomes familiar with the sounds of the language, words begin to flow more smoothly. Speaking starts to feel lighter, more natural, and communication becomes easier. Practice saying words out loud regularly, because training your mouth is just as important as training your mind. Beloved friends, now you can see understanding English and speaking English are not always the same journey. Many learners reach a point where they can listen comfortably, they can follow conversations, they can understand movies and stories. Yet when it is time to speak, something holds them back. Today, we explored 10 possible reasons: lack of self-confidence, overthinking every sentence, learning passively without speaking, fear of making mistakes, lack of real conversation practice, translating thoughts in the mind, social anxiety around other people, staying inside the comfort zone, weak pronunciation training, and the absence of automatic speaking habits. But here is the most important truth. None of these obstacles are permanent. Every one of them can be improved, step by step. Confidence grows when you speak. Speed grows when you practice. Clarity grows when you repeat. Fluency is not a gift reserved for a few people. It is a skill. And like every skill, it grows with consistent effort. So do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait until everything feels easy. Start with small steps. Speak a sentence today. Speak again tomorrow. Keep going the day after that. Little by little, your voice will become stronger. The language you understand today will become the language you speak tomorrow. And one day, you will realize something powerful. The fear is gone. the hesitation is gone, and English is finally flowing out of you with confidence. Keep practicing, keep speaking. Your fluency is closer than you think.